Hi guys, my name is Oksana and today we will be talking about a new collection from Charlotte Tilbury. This is her holiday collection and this is eyeshadow palette and face palette. And I think that we shall start from the eyeshadow palette. I believe that this is the item that we are most interested in. And just to let you know, this is the new format for eyeshadow palettes for Charlotte Tilbury. When it comes to the holiday collections, she was always used to releasing this long format like 12 pan palettes, and the last one that she released, it was Smoky Eyes Are Forever, one of my favorite palette of all, especially when we talk about the progression of the formula on the shimmer side of the palette. I do think that this one is a great purchase to get. And also when we are talking about the holiday collection from Charlotte, one of the most beautiful packaging wins this palette. I think that this is a very unique to Charlotte Tilbury's brand. It's not pink at all, it's not pillow talky at all, deep blue color with silvery engraving on that, and I think that this one is also like worth the attention. But now we have the new format, which is 9 pan palette format, and this packaging is even better. I believe I do like this gradient from the top to the bottom of the front packaging, and on the back we have all the information about the shades that we have in the palette. And also, just to let you know about the holiday releases, sometimes she also released her quads. My palette is called Luxury Palette of Pops. There was also the second one to this collection, which was released a year after with the blue pan. I didn't like it, so I sold it, but this one is still with me because I do like the sparkles in here. And now we have this palette, which retails for $75 or $76. I will of course put the exact price point in the description and also on the screen. And this palette, when I first saw when it was leaked, I didn't like it. Like, it was very makeup revolutionary, and like, considering the price point of Charlotte Tilbury, it can't be makeup revolutionary at all, especially considering the price point of this 9 pan palette. But of course, if we get into the account that her quads costs around like $40 or $50, well, this 9 pan palette doesn't seem to be maybe that expensive comparing to the quad palette. Especially given that this packaging I much more prefer than her quad packaging. And about the packaging, by the way, it's the same format as the face palette that she released also last year. I have a nude gasm face palette, exactly the same, no difference at all, and quality wise it's very well assembled, so it doesn't look like, it doesn't feel flimsy in the hands at all, and this is what I like as well. Now, let's get to the point where I liked the palette when I first saw Charlotte Tilbury promos. Although I must say, there was one makeup that I don't believe that Charlotte made with this palette, and I'm not sure why they included that photo to promote this palette, because this is totally not true. You can't get such black dramatic eye look. I do believe that they used the silver from this palette, but there is no black, there is no such depth in the palette, and this is why I think that it was a very misleading from Charlotte Tilbury's team. Now, why I ordered it. So I didn't look on the overall color story of the palette, to be honest. I just saw the shimmers, the swatches. They are wet, they are sparkly, and this is what just got my attention. Every time I try to think whether I need the palette or not, I just see sparkles and then I just gave up. So this is why here we are with this palette, and I can't say that I like this palette, like, I can't say it 100%, and here's why. So there are several reasons to that, but let's try to talk about the content of this palette without my subjectivity first, and then I will give you my opinion on this one. So when we are talking about the top row of the palette, this is the best part of the palette and the worst part of the palette. Let me explain. So the reason why it's the best part, because this is cream to powder formula of the matte shades that she already introduced us in Super Nudes palette. I'm trying to look for it. Here we are. So this palette, it features all matte shades with the same cream to powder formula. And this palette is my go-to palette for my everyday looks, and I believe that if, for example, I lost all my makeup and all my eyeshadow palettes, it will be the one that I will purchase because it's very easy to work, mattes are blending effortlessly, and this is what I like about this one. Now, when by the way, when I saw also the pictures on the promos, I saw that these textures, they look different from the mattes that I get used to see, and this is why when I first received it, I was surprised pleasantly, but I was expecting to have something like this formula in here. So about this row, again, best part, because this is my like I believe my favorite formula of mattes in my entire collection, but the worst side is that it's too warm, and I don't think how it correlates with all the shimmery side of the palette, to be honest. When we are talking about these two shades, which are Space Chocolate and Supernova Sweat, they are very warm toned, and I just don't see myself using these mattes with, for example, these lilac-y type of shades. They are too warm, but luckily we have the shade which is called Virtual Taupe, and this is the shade that I like to use to decrease the warmth in these two that we talked previously just a few moments ago. So this shade is a cool toned palette. It's like it's a cool toned pan with like a cool undertone, this grayish taupe undertone, and it's also formula cream to powder, no issues at all. They are blending beautifully, they build up beautifully, intensely. You can get basically everything you want with these mattes. Now, another matte shade that is presented in this palette is Cosmic Pink, and this matte shade is just a simple formula that we all know. It has medium pigmentation, so you can build it up, but when you first try to apply it onto the eyelid, then you can see that it's a little bit on the lighter side, but then you can again build it up to have it more intense. But I don't see again it mixing together with these warm tones. Although today when I did this makeup, I tried to apply first this shade which is chocolate, Space Chocolate, and then all over the lid I added this rosy matte, and like I can't say that it was bad, like it was looking good. This rose matte, it just added some freshness to the look and something different, not that warm, but when I add shimmers from the palette, then the shimmers, they don't really mix well with these warm tones, if you know what I mean. So this is my first issue with the palette. It's just that the color temperature inside the palette is too contrast, like there is this stark contrast between two sides of the palette, between shimmers and mattes, and sometimes I just can't see how can I use this palette and how can I create looks with it. Then the shimmery side of the palette, there are also two different formulas. So the first one, I would describe it as just a creamy metallic, so foiled metallic that we know. It's not that opaque that you just couldn't see through, but still this one is just more intense on the color base than the other shimmers in this palette. And this one, again, it just stands out with this cool tone temperature comparing to other shades, and it's just very hard to mix it in the look. This is why I use the shade Beautyverse to combine them together, to mix them together, and then it just somehow neutralizes this silver pan. First four shades, they are sparkles, and so there is also like the best part of this palette on the shimmery side and the worst part. So the worst part is that they are dry and they are not unique. So I don't see myself reaching to this palette because it doesn't give me anything new, and this is why I don't see here Charlotte put like her best hand into creating this palette. It's just very random, and even when I apply colors onto the eyelid and I try to do different combinations, different makeup looks, somehow it it just gives me the same result. And for example, when I will show you the makeup looks, I don't think that you will see like much of the difference, especially with today's one and the one that I've created when I was coming in the office. So I think that it doesn't worth the price point that is claimed for this palette. This is one of the issues of this shimmery side of the palette, but also they have a lot of fallouts. Oh my god, like even if I apply it with the finger very, very lightly pressed onto the lid, it still gives me a lot of fallouts under the eyes, and they are very hard to clean. The best part of these sparkles, because of this dry formula, it doesn't crease for the very long period of time. So for example, I have oily lids, and I believe that eyeshadows tend to crease on me around 4 hours point mark, around that time, not even for like 6 hours point mark. This is the average longevity of eyeshadows on my lid. But this palette and these sparkles, they actually wore pretty good around 8 hours without any visible creasing, and I believe that this is because of this dry formula. And now the best part is this wet looking eyelid when you apply these shades on your eye. It's very Charlotte-y effect. It's not too bright, too bold, but it's still reflecting, dimensional, classy looking on the eyelids. And this is what I like about this palette. This is one of the not so many things that I like, and I believe that maybe this will just keep me to not get rid of the palette. Also, about the issues of the palette as well, these two shades, they are too similar. When I had first impressions with this palette, I used these two shades on my, like, all over the lid, and I didn't see any difference. Although this shade, which is called Golden Galaxy, it is supposed to be like the duochrome type of shade. Oh no, this is Planet Pink. Yeah, this is Planet Pink. It's supposed to be duochrome type of shade, but it's not visible. Like, I don't see any visible shifts. Maybe from some angles, yes, but very hard to catch it, to be honest. So these are my thoughts about this palette. Not perfect, not bad, something in between, but I don't think that for that price point it can be something in between, if you know what I mean. Let me know in the comments whether you picked this up and whether you already tried it, and what do you think. And now we will talk about face palette, which is Hollywood Blush and Glow Glide palette. This is already a face palette, and this is the palette that I wasn't interested in, but when I saw sets on Charlotte Tilbury website, I also ordered the set, by the way, with her Brush Flawless Setting Spray, which is her best seller, and I thought that I wouldn't mind to try it. So this is why I picked up the face palette as well, and I didn't regret it, to be honest. The blush formula is what I like in the face products because it's not very opaque. Again, for the face products, this is the #1 quality that I look, especially when we are talking about pigmentation. I don't like too pigmented, too intense products, because otherwise it will take ages to blend them out in this transparent kind of look that I like to see on my face. And these blushes, they give you the pigmentation that you want if you want to build it up, or they are on the very light, like not very light, but on the medium opaque level, if I can say that. Blended beautifully, work beautifully. Also, I tested it in the office for the longevity. I can't say that it has just fabulous results, but I think that it was okay. It was pretty okay. Then for the highlighter, even though it's not this powdery formula that she has in this Film Star Bronze and Glow palette, which I don't like the highlighter I don't like. I like the highlighter as well. I like that it blends with the skin without any visible edges. Like there are no like borders with blushes and bronzers and highlighters. Everything is blended seamlessly, and this is what I like. So the only thing that I don't like is just it's on a bit darker side. So if you are very light, I don't think that this highlighter will actually work for you. But yeah, overall, I do enjoy the palette, and even though I thought that the packaging, it will be, again, much more cheaper looking, I ended up liking it. It's very travel friendly, and I think that I would just take it on a lot of my trips, to be honest. So this is, I believe, everything that I wanted to tell you. I hope that you will find this review useful and helpful. Let me know in the comments if you think so, and thank you so much for watching, guys. Take care, bye!